for what feels like forever. One single architecture has absolutely dominated the world of AI. We're talking about the Transformer, right? It's the engine behind, well, pretty much every breakthrough you've heard about. But what if a new contender just stepped into the ring? One that's faster, way more efficient, and could totally change the game. Let's dive in and see what's going on.
All right, so here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to look at the big problem hiding inside the Transformer. Then, we'll meet the new challenger, Mamba, and uncover its secret weapon. After that, we'll see how it stacks up in a head-to-head showdown, and finally, we'll talk about what this could all mean for the future of AI.
Okay, so first things first. To really get why we even need a challenger, we've got to take a closer look at the current king of the hill.
I mean, it's honestly hard to overstate how important the Transformer is. It's the literal backbone of models like GPT. It's powering everything from the chatbots you talk to the AI art you see online. The secret sauce was its attention mechanism, this brilliant idea that lets it look at an entire sentence or piece of data all at once to get the full context. And believe me, that was a huge, huge leap forward.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, all that incredible power comes with a pretty big price tag. A hidden cost, a fundamental flaw that's becoming a bigger and bigger problem the more we ask these models to do.
And this right here is the Transformer's Achilles heel. Researchers use a really simple test to show it, called the copying task. The idea is super basic. Can the model remember something from the very beginning of a long chunk of text and repeat it at the very end? Sounds easy, right? Well, for Transformers, the longer that text gets, the slower and way more expensive the whole process becomes. And that's because its attention mechanism has to compare every single word to every other single word all at the same time. It's just a lot. So, this big problem actually has a name. It's called quadratic scaling. The easiest way to wrap your head around it is with the handshake problem. Imagine you have 2 people in a room. That's 1 handshake. Now put 4 people in the room. Suddenly, it's 6 handshakes. The number of connections just explodes, right? Well, it's the same for a Transformer. Doubling the length of the text doesn't just double the work, it quadruples it. And that makes trying to process really long things like a whole book or an entire genome just crazy inefficient.
And that is where our challenger comes in. You know, if the Transformer's big problem is that it's trying to look at everything all at once, the obvious question is, what if there's a smarter way to do it?
So, let's meet Mamba. Now, this isn't just another small tweak on the Transformer. No, this is built on a totally different foundation. It's called a state space model, or SSM. And while SSMs themselves aren't brand new, Mamba adds a twist that is an absolute game changer.
Okay, so what on earth is a state space model? Well, instead of looking at everything all at once, like a Transformer, an SSM is much more human. It moves through information one step at a time, kind of like how you'd read a sentence from left to right. And as it goes, it compresses everything it's already seen into this neat little summary called a state. Then it just takes that memory state and combines it with the next word or piece of data to update its understanding. It's a much more linear and way more efficient way to handle things.
But you know, the older versions of these SSMs had their own issues. They weren't great at figuring out which parts of the past were actually important to remember. And that is where Mamba's real magic comes into play.
Really, the whole philosophy behind them is like night and day. Think of the Transformer as using brute force. It just looks at everything, all the time, no matter what. Mamba, though, it's much smarter. It's selective. It has this incredible mechanism that lets it decide what's important enough to keep and, crucially, what's irrelevant enough to just forget.
The best way to think about it is like a skilled reader skimming a book, right? When you're reading, you don't treat every single word with the same level of importance. Your brain reads a new sentence and it instantly decides, okay, that's a major plot point, or, that's just descriptive fluff. You lock the important stuff into memory, you let go of the trivial details, and you move on efficiently. That is exactly what Mamba is designed to do with data.
And the researchers behind Mamba said it best themselves. The key is that this whole selection process is dynamic. It changes depending on what it's looking at. This is how Mamba is able to filter out all the noise and just zero in on what actually matters. And that's the secret to both its accuracy and its crazy efficiency.
All right, so the theory is fantastic. It all sounds great on paper. But how does Mamba actually do when it gets in the ring with the champ? Let's take a look at the numbers.
Okay, this chart really tells the whole story. See that red line for attention? That's the Transformer's engine. See how it just shoots upwards as the sequence gets longer? That's quadratic scaling right there in front of you. Now look at the blue line from Mamba's scan. It's almost completely flat. What that means is it can handle way longer sequences without even breaking a sweat.
And this speed isn't just some theoretical thing on a chart. Oh no. It translates into some pretty mind-blowing real-world performance. The paper reports that Mamba can hit, get this, 5 times the inference throughput. That means it can spit out answers 5 times faster than a transformer of the exact same size. That's not just an improvement, folks. That is a gigantic leap.
So where does all this new speed and efficiency really make a difference? Well, it shines brightest in exactly the places where transformers have always struggled. We're talking about handling super long sequences, like modeling an entire human genome or processing crystal clear audio. In these areas, Mamba doesn't just compete, it sets a whole new state of the art, blowing past the previous models.
But wait, here's the real kicker. Mamba isn't just some niche model that's only good for super long data. Check out this table. It compares Mamba to a transformer of a similar size, but on standard language tests. You know, the transformer's home turf. And if you look at the averages, Mamba actually scores higher. So this isn't a trade-off. You're not sacrificing quality for speed. It's faster, it's more efficient, and it performs better. Wow.
So what's the big picture here? What does all of this mean? What happens to the future of AI when you suddenly remove one of its biggest bottlenecks, the problem of sequence length?
Well, a whole universe of new possibilities just cracks wide open. I mean, think about it. We're talking about AI that can analyze an entire genome to help cure diseases, or generate music that has perfect long-term structure, or even understand the complete plot of a 2-hour movie. And even in the world of language, it means we could get way more powerful models that cost a whole lot less to train and run.
Yeah, and the authors of the paper are not shy about it. They don't mince words at all. They're not saying, hey, this is a nice little improvement. No, they're suggesting that Mamba is a serious candidate to become the new backbone for the next generation of AI, potentially kicking the transformer right off its throne.
Look, this could be a truly fundamental shift in how we build AI. Mamba seems to solve the transformer's biggest weakness, while matching or even beating it at its own game. Now, of course, it's still early days, but the evidence is, well, it's pretty compelling. So the question we're all left with isn't if a successor to the transformer will show up. It's, are we looking at it right now?